Hello, everyone. As always, welcome back to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we're finding, learning, and turning the great strategy games of all time. And number one on that leaderboard is Gary Grigsby's War in the Pacific Admirals Edition. And we currently have a hot and heated play by email challenge with the devious Lodric. Lodric had a very nice first turn. Very impressed. Well done, Lodric. Well, I don't know if he's going to watch these. Who knows how he prepares for the next turn? Maybe mentally he doesn't want me to get in his head this chess match. No, his first turn was very good. It's exactly what you want to see out of a Japanese player. Lots of bombardment, jumping off of transports all over the map. He absolutely ravaged us at both Pearl Harbor and somewhat a little more surprisingly Manila. Now I had never played two-day turns before, and he took full advantage of that at Manila. Well done by him. Just absolutely blistered us at Manila. We lost a lot of stuff there. Now I'm hovering over Midway Island. So this is going to be, I think this is episode 4.2. 4.1 was the resolution. So we got the combat file back. We watched that for episode 4.1, and now 4.2 will be us kind of looking over the carnage and also planning and looking at our next moves. Since I'm recording this, I can actually draw on the map, and for veterans of the channel, everyone knows how exciting that is because I can't draw, but I love to do it. Which anytime someone says that, run as fast as you can, especially if they claim that they love to play an instrument of some sort or sing. Now, well, you all know I can sing. But I kid. But we will get the pencil out this time and just point out a few things. So I'm over Midway. I do have a few patrol planes coming out of some Catalinas coming out of Midway. They've got a really nice long range here, and they can see the main Japanese fleet, the Kido Butai, as it comes back out of Pearl Harbor. Now, he gave us a nice little parting shot as he left. I was like, Lodric, man, you're really going for it here. As he went by Johnston Island, he waved goodbye by hitting the AM Robin, which I thought added insult to injury. So now it's game on. Now, as you can see out here, we've got several subs. I've got those subs. They're all still in good shape. They haven't been hit. They haven't been damaged. Once the war starts, they all decide they want to head back to Pearl Harbor. I've actually got them out doing other things. I also, my patrol planes were looking this way, well, kind of this way. That's how we could see them. I say them, the Japanese main task force. Now I've got them going this way so we can watch him float by. As you can see, I mean, I wish we could zoom out in this game. It's the one thing that kills me. He's got a long ways to go. He's got to come back into a main port, and he really doesn't have any of those back, to the east of the home islands. He's probably going to have to come to the home islands first. I say probably, almost certainly. And if he did take any damage at all, maybe replenish some planes, something like that. Um, he'll go by Wake. He's now already taken Wake. He'll probably come for Midway, maybe even Johnston. And so we got to get prepared for that. Now, I never do anything at Pearl Harbor turn uh, two, I guess it would be. So the first turn that we put in orders, the only thing I did at Pearl Harbor was I got all of our fighters up in cap. And that's just in case, I don't know. I mean, I've had people do all kinds of crazy stuff playing this game, but that's just in case he tries to come back over and bomb Pearl Harbor a second time. Now, the way the game is set up, he almost has to go back immediately to the home islands or he will run out of gas. But I've had people try to get tankers out here because he's hung around for an extra turn. So anyway, the point is I get all of the fighters up in cap. Um, and make sure any carriers that I have back here that all of their fighters would be up in cap. Now, if they're sitting in port, they only fight at 50% effectiveness. Always keep that in mind. Um, so I also then, and I think I can go ahead and reveal this, I actually did a little turnabout. Now I had said I was going to take the carrier task force, the Lexington here, and I was going to move it north. I actually did not do that. I moved it south. And so he came down here at full speed, the Lexington did. I had him on full speed. I've already changed, I've already done the US West Coast. I've moved all the way through India, giving the second round of orders. I guess it's technically turn three, or it will be. But you can see here the Lexington, we burned a lot of fuel going full out, but we got way south of him here, and now we can go east, and then he'll bend up and back around. Now that's really option A, is to come south, because he's already kind of out here. And you do take the chance, if you go north, that he's decided to turn towards Midway Island. Sometimes people will do that and give that a parting shot. Well, if all of a sudden he runs into the Lexington, that's bad news bears, certainly. We did have this transport that was out here, kind of at Midway. It's a small one. It's one of those one point transports. It's just going to go whoop, whoop, back down into Pearl. Now, we also had another carrier out here, and that was the Enterprise. And so I had the Enterprise. So the Enterprise was kind of floating around over in this area. I had that go full steam towards Alaska just in case. And now that he has cleared, I've put that back to mission speed, and he'll just come back in here, settle in real nice at Pearl Harbor. As you can see, I've got him on auto disband. A big reason for that is we do have a few damaged ships here. For one thing, I mean, we had him going at full steam. When you got him going, let me just show you here if you're not that familiar with the game. Here's full speed. You can see we couldn't even make it with the fuel that we have. We have to back that off to mission speed, but they do take some damage when you go full speed like that. They already had a little bit of damage. So I'm going to auto disband those and get some of those into the shipyards and whatnot. And we are going to really focus on Hawaii this time. I also could do the same thing with the Lexington, although this doesn't have nearly the damage. So we'll have it come around, go sit in port. Some of this will just fade away a little bit. We'll get it doing some pier side repair or something like that. Um, you know what? I'll just auto disband it when it comes in. We may as well. We'll look at that damage situation when we go to Pearl. That's what I'm going to focus on this time. I'm going to do we're going to go over the post-mortem of the last turn. So let's click off or click on that. As you can see, for turn two, we ran 3,600 sorties. He ran 7,000. All right. We took 31 air-to-air losses. He took 48. I like that. I like that. We want to keep this. Now, I talked about this in the Let's Play Against the AI. Don't get a false sense of security here that you think, oh, the Allies Air Force is so good, we're taking him out. He's running bombing missions. So he's running offensive bombing missions. We're running defensive missions with Cap. We should be taking down more planes than he is, right? I mean, if you think about that, the bombers are coming in sometimes unescorted, because as the Japanese player sort of has to do that in certain spots. They're coming in unescorted sometimes, or even if they are escorted, we can get into the bombers. And so we need to be outpacing him and causing more air-to-air losses. This was a nice little turn. 48, I'll take that every time. If we can knock 48 Japanese aircraft out of the air. Now, some turns we certainly won't be doing that. It just depends, how heavy his bombing campaign is ultimately going to be, and it should be very heavy at the start. 48, 31. Okay, I would like us to do a little better, fewer losses. Destroyed on the field. Anybody that's watched my games knows I absolutely detest destroyed on the field, because I feel like that's the one thing you can really control. Well, I mean, you can control a lot in this game, but it's one thing that you can really put your thumb on the scale in this game, is to make sure you're not getting aircraft destroyed on the field. Now, some of that is completely unavoidable right at the start, but after the first orders go in, well, that's not true. Let me say after the first couple of weeks, probably, because you have a lot of things sitting on the field at the Philippines that get damaged in the initial run, and they can't even fly. But you should never be getting things destroyed on the field that can fly at this point. After you're at turn 3, anything that's getting destroyed on the field that can fly, that's your fault. That's not, just the game's happening or whatever. Just don't let that happen. Destroyed by flak. As you can see, our flak, did some damage. Whether most of that, I think, was at Manila, because it has more flak. Really, Pearl Harbor's caught completely unaware, but Manila does a little better with the flak, so we took some of that down. Operational losses, 41, way too high. But some of that is we're flying damaged aircraft, or well, they're not damaged, but we're flying remnants of squadrons and stuff all over the map. So it was only natural we're going to take a few more operational losses this time. Also, when I play against a human player, I'm far more aggressive on my altitudes, and so a lot of torpedo bombers I will have down at 1,000 feet, 4,000 feet. Whereas when I play the I have them at 6 to 8,000 feet. When you fly them lower, you're going to take more operational losses. Also, just make sure with your training you've got them on a range of 0. I've tried to go around and look at every air squadron in the game and make sure that's the case. Now, you may see this and say political points 25. Whoa, that's not very many, my friend. Yeah, I've spent some more. I bought the Flying Tigers out. I've now put them in 221 RAF. If you're not familiar with the game, what does that mean? There was a group of American volunteers that went over to Burma, China, Burma. Okay, I mean, I guess in the tail it's over to China, but they really volunteered to help in Burma and China. They were in Tonggu, which is a Burmese base. Historically, there were 99 of them, and they were excellent. They were, think about this. They not only volunteered for a war that where no war had been declared, they volunteered to go to Burma. So, I mean, double volunteering, but they are excellent, and they're the only real reason you can hold on to Rangoon if you can, because they keep those Japanese bombers off of Rangoon for a while. If you don't get enough help out there, they will eventually wear down. Well, they start off, or at least 2 squadrons of them, start off as part of the Chinese Air Force, or CAF, CAF. I always buy those out and I put them in the British command, the 221 RAF. Now, that doesn't mean I move them out of Tanggu, which is where they start. So there's 3 squadrons of them, 3 of 30. I think they have 28 planes, maybe each one of them at the start. So there's 3 squadrons. One is already part of the 221 RAF. It is in Rangoon. You have 2 others that are in Tanggu. They're part of the Chinese Air Force. I buy them out. I also put them in the 221 RAF. Then you've got the choice. If he starts bombing Tanggu a lot, you can take the Flying Tigers, you can put them in Rangoon. If he starts bombing the heck out of Rangoon, you can then buy that one out, or you don't have to buy that one out. You could fly it up to Tanggu and they can all be together, and you can move 221 RAF up there and get the command bonuses that you get from being in command. So, anyway, you know, I bought out the Flying Tigers. I think they were 54 points apiece to put into the 221 RAF, or Royal Air Force, if you prefer, you Brits. And so now they are part of that group, all 3 squadrons instead of just one. Okay, Japanese score 27-34, 11-3-97 for the Allies. We'll be looking to try to keep this above 10,000. My red line is when this gets below 10,000, I start to look around the map and say, okay, where are we not maximizing points? Early on, I try to play the game as if we're playing a real war. To where we're trying to build up the Allied forces to eventually invade the Japanese homeland. But if we get underneath 10,000 points, I don't like that, and I start looking around to think about how we're gonna get more points. How are points calculated in this game? Well, it's based on how many troops you lose, how many uh, ships you lose, how many aircraft you lose. There's points involved in all of that. If you've been watching this, you'll hear me talk about the point uh, amounts for different kinds of ships. which is to me one of the most important concepts in the game. The other way is capturing bases, and that ultimately is probably the most important, right? And so different bases on the game. For instance, Singapore is worth a lot of points. When he takes Singapore, he will get a lot of points. So we can go look at those at some point, but you'll see Allied bases controlled. We have 582. He has 254. You can see the point, totals. Us controlling 582 gives us 11,391. You can see we've actually picked up 6 points above and beyond that. That's just for other various factors that we can get into at some other time. He's got 1501 for his base points, okay, but he's going to start chipping away because he would and should, or he will and should take more and more bases. I mean, this should get down to, let's say 470 to 320 or something like that. Maybe it'd be closer to 350. If he's playing well. And so, we'll see that start to deteriorate. Allied aircraft points lost. We've lost 213. He's lost 155. Okay, we will definitely want to pick up points here. Whether we're trying to win the war or just win on points, we should be picking up points here. Army point losses, we've lost 265. He's lost 3. Now, wow, you're like, what? Well, I mean, in the Philippines and in China, you lose a lot of army points because ultimately you're just completely overmatched and overwhelmed. Malaya as well, and then Sumatra. We're going to lose a lot of army points. We've got to try to bloody his nose in China as much as possible, and that's I put a lot of my focus there. I know some people that play this game don't want to even play the Chinese War, but I think it's a place where you can actually bloody up the Japanese pretty well and turn it into a sinkhole if you play it right. Allied ship sunk 53. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure I've ever had a number that high going into turn 3. Again, logic, all tip of the hat to him. I mean, there's nothing we've done wrong. He just did a very, very nice job of hitting us in good spots. He's put his submarines in excellent spots in and around Singapore. You could learn something from that if you ever want to play the Japanese, where he's put his subs down there because he hit the most commonly used lanes and thought he did an excellent job there. And the aforementioned, but I don't want to take away from what Logic did, but the aforementioned, he ripped us up in Manila in a way that I've never encountered before. When I played 3-day turns before, I've always made provision to get certain things like submarines out of Manila. I didn't do that for 2-day turns, but that's okay. It'll make it for a more interesting game because he ravaged our subfleet, and we'll go look at that here soon. Aircraft losses. Okay, I mean, we could see what he's lost zeros. Let's just see today what's been lost. Warhawks, yeah, we lost some on ops. He's lost some zeros on ops. Air to air, you know, not bad. We've really chewed up some Nels. This is all excellent. The more, and it's not about the planes, the airframes themselves. It's all about the pilots. The Japanese eventually run out of good pilots if you're playing well, and that's what we're going to try to do. Operational losses. We lost a lot of Hudsons. If that continues in any fashion, I'll go look at those Hudsons because I'm not exactly sure about that. That could have been some of them trying to land after bombing runs. Some of the runways, like at Clark Field in Singapore, can start to get damaged. I'll just have to go look at that. I'm not sure what that's all about. Let's look at the total actually. Nels and zeros lead the way. We've taken quite a few losses on the Buffaloes and Warhawks. Hudsons, though, they're the big ops losses. We'll have to monitor that. We'll continue to look at that. Okay. So group reinforcement schedule. All right, I mean, one day we're going to get a whole bunch of more planes. As the allies, you just get more and more. This is one place where I continue to use the Cole spreadsheet, regardless of whether I'm using it for the setup, is because he's got a very nice breakdown of everything you get during the first month of the war, and then he continues on for land units thereafter. But for the first month of the war, he has every single thing that comes on the map, so you don't have to guess, where did something come on the map. And then after the first month, it slows down slightly, meaning you only get about 5 things each turn of different stuff. But as you can see, we get more, fortresses out at Ogden. This is actually where I put my fifth bomber group, which is a lot of fortresses anyway. I put that out at Ogden. LA, San Francisco, I put my fighters in LA and I put my bombers in San Francisco. So that works out well for me. He does get, or I say he, we get two more pilots, two more aircraft. Okay, that's coming into Rangoon. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Let's go back. Um, Withdrawals. Okay, we've got a squadron coming off the Beaufort, or they are Beauforts. I'm sorry. The Beaufort 5 recon planes, British. I have no idea where these are, but they come off the map. If you're not that familiar with the game, you do have to manually withdraw things, or you start to lose points. So we'll just have to keep track of that. And I always come and look at it. Group withdraw, aircraft replacement pool, and kind of look at the pool if we wanted to. In the pool, what do we have? Just out of curiosity, what do we have in the pool? Of course, the Soviets. Let's get the Soviets out of here. My goodness. Soviet, get out of here. Okay, U.S. Navy. Oh gosh, then it resorts. Don't do that. Why were you made in 2004? Um, there we, gosh, darn it, that took me a minute. Kingfishers got 40 in the pool. Buffalo Ones, 39. The Vincents, as you can see, what we have in the pool. It's not a whole lot. Now that will build and build and build. Uh, Gosh darn it, did I just do? Have I ever played this game before? List top pilots. All right. Wow, we've got a guy that's almost an ace already. He's got 4 kills in the P-35. Where are these guys? Far East. Oh, he's at Clark Field. Wow. So he's in a P-35. He's almost aced this early in the war. Holy mackerel. A. Jones. I'm going to call him Alex. Andy. Andy Jones. Let's call him Andy. That sounds like a good 1940s American name. Andy Jones with 4 kills already. Harrington, a British pilot with Buffaloes. That's probably, well, I don't know where it is. Why am I guessing? He's in Singapore. That's probably what I should have guessed. Yeah, I keeps exiting out of there. All right, pilot replacements. We'll get into these pools as we go along. Stanley actually asked a pretty good question, like how do you train carrier that are carrier capable but not carrier trained? Well, I'll tell you, Stanley. You get one of your carrier trained groups off, you stick them in San Diego or someplace, and you put the carrier capables on and train them while you're not using your carriers. That's really probably the best way to do it. But you can see their experience, okay, their average experience of the Navy in the pool. This is just the pool. You've got, essentially 3 or 4 different kinds of pools. We can go into the reserve pool and look at actual, individual pilots, as crazy as that may sound about this game. These are pilots that have lost their airframe, but are experienced pilots. We'll let I mean, we could put some of these guys in, but we'll wait. We'll wait. I mean, you really want to wait until fighter reserve. We'll do this. I haven't prepared enough, let's put it that way, to go through all that. I just haven't looked at the pilots yet. There's been enough other things to do. Ship sunk. Now, this is something I really wanted to take a peek at with you because you can get a good idea of how badly we got just smoked. The Maryland and the Nevada were hit at Pearl Harbor. Well, there ain't jack you can do about that, okay? That's just going to happen. 174, 107. The Indianapolis went down to the bottom of the sea at 174, 107. So let's go find 174, 107. If I can do it, my goodness. I may not be able to do it from here. It's essentially over here by the Philippines, right? Let's see, can I bring up the hex there? Oh, actually, it's not. Or 174. Huh. 79. Okay. I was off there. I know some people, including XTRG, play with the grid on. I've actually never looked into. Oh, you know what? Oh, I can 174. Is that right? Am I wrong about that? Let's go back to that. Sorry. Sounding like a dip. Let's try this again. Indianapolis, 174, 107. Oh, okay. That's why I was confused. Um, okay. This way, this way. So it was just off of here. Okay. My goodness. Oh, that's right. That's right. The AI never takes advantage of the fact that you have a task force out here that's sailing back towards Pearl Harbor. Or usually the AI won't. A good human player will, because he'll have his carrier set up correctly, and just gets all over that. And we'll go back and look at this for a second here. Ship sunk. Um, yeah, so the Indianapolis, so that's what that is. The Niha. Uh, Niha, I think there's more out here. Where? Yeah, here they are. So you lose two DMSs. All right. So those are Minesweeper destroyers. You lose those. That may be it. So there's three ships in that group. And one of them's a cruiser, the Indianapolis, worth 40 points. Ouch! Ouch! Something else he hit, these submarine tenders, which are so valuable. They really, I mean, above and beyond their point total, 32 and 20. I love to put these in Darwin or other places to shorten where you have to go to get your submarines rearmed. Um, yeah, so that hurts. I mean, he took out two of those. He took out two big AOs. I mean, I think the Trinity had a 9820 capacity. That hurts. The Pecos got taken down. We've got an aircraft tender. I love the tenders. I feel like most people don't know how to use the tenders. During the course of this game, we'll really get into how you do the tenders. Speaking of which, the Canopus went down, and that was at Manila, and you can start to see. We got the Oiler taken down at Manila. The Langley, the aircraft tender, taken down at Manila. Canopus, the Gertrude Kellogg. So we had these two tankers, one taken down at Manila, one near Palembang. Now that was only a 12-point tanker, thank goodness. The Neptura and the Hong Peng. We were trying to get those up to Singkawap on Borneo to get troops out, and so it was they're 8-point ships. That's not the end of the world. That was worth it. So these two, I'm not that upset. I mean, I would have much rather they get up there to take the troops out, but they didn't. But I just wanted you to see this submarine graveyard at Manila. Now, normally you do not lose these submarines. This was near Manila, so we'll just call it Manila. The Sea Dragon, the Sculpin, the Sari, the Sturgeon, the Snapper, the Skipjack. Who had the weird sense of humor at the U.S. Navy to name these all with S's? The Seal, blah, blah, blah. And then we get into the P's. The Permit, the Perch, the Tarpon. That's not with an M. That is Tarpon. All at Manila. And then we lost two other subs, the S-41 and the S-38, also at Manila. Ouch! 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 We lost a couple of destroyers at Pearl Harbor. Niha, we lost those two DMSs. Okay, now we're getting down to the 5 or below ships. You're just going to lose these. Don't even, seriously, don't worry about losing 5-point or under ships. It's not going to make a difference in the grand scheme of things. What you don't want to lose, if you're going to lose 8-point ships, don't make them submarines because those come in really handy later. Although we will get an absolute Baker's dozen of submarines every damn turn at some point. And then, all of this, some of it, oh, I say some of it, all of it really was pretty unavoidable except maybe the transports. But this all got hit out by Manila or Pearl Harbor. Not a whole lot we could do about that. Okay, the reinforcements, all that kind of stuff. We'll go through that in other turns. This time around, it's not that exciting or crazy. I am gonna get the pencil out, I think, because I do want to show you a few things that I did. So you can see the U.S. West Coast here, all of the task forces heading out, all right? And they're pretty much all heading out of Los Angeles and San Francisco. Then if we get up here, you see quite a few coming out of Seattle, Vancouver. And this is your three big nodes. Let's get the pencil, he says. Is that the, God, I hope that's the pencil. It is the pencil. Oh, shoot. Oh, that's not going to work because it moves the screen when I go up there. Okay, well, I'll do, imagine a pencil on the screen. The way I play this game is I do have B-17's training back here at Ogden. So I put a new base force. This one's moving up there, right? It's got a lot of aviation support. This is Windover Field. I moved that up to Ogden, which has a massive airfield. I think it's an 8. Yeah, it's an 8 airfield. I train all my B-17s up here. All right. Other than that, I put all my fighters at March in Los Angeles here, and I put all my bombers at San Francisco and Sacramento. Now I have most of those at Sacramento or at San Francisco now. Now, if you start to run out of room here, you can play around and go to other places like Bakersfield. You could come back over here to Windover Field or something like that. But for the most part, it's March in LA, Sacramento, San Francisco, and then I have the big bombers back here at Ogden. Then I have all my troops, for the most part, come out of Los Angeles. Now, that's not always true. Sometimes it's just easier to send them out of San Francisco. I have all my long range cargo come out of here and go around my picket fence. And my picket fence, so in long range, anything greater than 12,000. I have 2 or 3 different lanes. I have one lane that cuts down here behind Christmas Island, behind Pago Pago, behind Suva, behind Nomaya, all the way into Brisbane or Sydney. Okay. I have a second lane that comes down here through the just below the Marquesas and then cuts directly west. And then a third lane that comes down here south of Tahiti through Auckland, all right, because if it goes that far down, it's got to refuel. So I do a tactical refuel in Auckland and up into Sydney, Brisbane, maybe Melbourne on occasion. Then, I mean, down here from Auckland, I've got a lot of stuff coming from Australia to Auckland and the US to Auckland. I use Auckland as kind of my central base to resupply and refuel Nomaya, Suva, Pago, and then up here at Christmas and Palmyra, I bring that all down from Pearl Harbor. So Pearl Harbor goes out to Johnston, Midway, Christmas, Palmyra, but also I keep ships with a decent endurance to come out of Pearl Harbor to also go to Tahiti, Rarotonga, and then up here as well, Pago, Suva, because these are the really important ones. So West Coast will take care of Australia. Pearl Harbor and Auckland takes care of all this stuff out here. I get continuous supply going where I can. I try to use lower point ships where I can. The bigger point ships, a lot of times I just keep coming from the U.S. West Coast to Pearl Harbor because you're just going to have a ton of cargo, a ton of fuel that's coming out. Literally tons, hundreds of thousands of tons. Seattle and Vancouver, they all come out to Pearl Harbor unless they go to Alaska. So I always really pump Alaska full of troops, fuel, and supply. The last thing you want is the Japanese getting a toehold over here. So I will build up Adak. I will build up Dutch. I will build up Cold Bay. I will build up Kodiak and Seward and say, well, come and get me if you dare. So I've got a lot of stuff starting to move up there. We'll come get some base forces. We'll get some of the infantry, like the one that's up here at Skagway. We get that out of here, and I take the the Canadian base force and bring it down here. As a matter of fact, I forgot to do that, I think. So let's just actually do that. Can I do it by strategic? I forget. Yeah, there's a railway there. So he's going to come down to Skagway, and we're going to take that base force out somewhere, or actually, that's infantry. We're going to take that out somewhere else. Destination undisclosed. Okay, so that's all that. And then as we get over here to Australia, I mean, the big hub, you can see everything coming off the Australian coast here, coming out of Melbourne. Whether, a few of these are going to Tasmania, but they're coming out of Tasmania really as well to get out here to, hit Nomaya, Luganville, Afate, a lot going up to Moresby, Boona, Rabaul, Lay. You just do all of that out of Townsville for a lot of this stuff. Townsville or Brisbane. I will come out of Brisbane as well. Sydney does a lot of this stuff out here. It also has a lot, just a conga line going back and forth to Auckland, as does Melbourne. All right. So that's how I do that. I've got a lot of troops. American troops are already on the way to Nomaya, Suva, Pago, Luganville. I've got infantry regiments and base forces and airplanes and who knows what else. We'll go look at all these things in depth over time. I've got Australian stuff coming out to Rabaul, to Moresby, to Ley, just pumping that full with whatever I can. I'm just got a few token things out here, really. Everything's about Koapang, Samlaki, uh, sometimes Dobo, also Lawturn, and Darwin. This is just a triangle here. You put a million assets in here and make it just impossible for the Japanese to get down here. You see all of the naval action out and around Java. So you think about all the ships, all of quote unquote ships we lost, but really look at all the ships we have. These are all, multiple ship task forces getting out of here, trying to get out of the Philippines. He's all over the Philippines at this point. A lot of stuff. I always hold on turn one and do not bring anything out of Hong Kong because he's expecting it. This turn, I'm going full steam with all of that stuff out of Hong Kong. We got stuff out of Singapore to the extent it didn't get sunk. You see, he's landed all in northern Borneo here. Palembang. I've got things waiting on in station here. I've got all kinds of destroyers. All of my British destroyers that I have, I'll have right in this area because he's already got subs out here. They've already started to sink things. You've got to get out here and try to destroy his subs. The Japanese have a hard time replacing subs. You can see things that have come out through the Strait of Oosthaven, Batavia. This is one of the most important ports in the game, or points on the map, in my opinion. I'm doing everything I can to hold on to that. Destroyers, I'll have troops coming in here, et cetera, et cetera. Sumatra, we talked about that last time. I've got everything trying to leak south in Malaya. He's already landed in Kuantan, Kota Baru. He's going to try to get over here and cut these rail lines, but I think normally we should be able to get out. In China, what happened this time? Not a whole. China's so vast that it's hard to really see over 2 days' time a difference. Now he did attack here, but we've got the whole world trying to drop back here. He did jump out here and try to block this roadway. We've got a lot of things moving down this roadway. Now we could, veer south if we need to. We'll see. We'll see. A lot of things coming into Chengtao. Did I say Chengtao? Chengchao, Chengchao, and Loyang. I've got a lot dropping back there. Sian, Yan'an, all the big places there. In Burma, everything coming to Rangoon, Chittagong, Calcutta, everything out of India. Pour that out to the coasts and get it somewhere useful. There's no now you've got garrison requirements up here in some places, right? But do the calculations, whether you're a mathematician or not, do the calculations, and to the extent you can, get things out to the coast. You see everything moving off the coast of India. We've got everything set up, Abadan to Karachi, Aden to Karachi, a lot of stuff coming to Colombo. I love Colombo. I use it like crazy. He may try to come interdict Colombo or blockade it or something. That always makes for a fun game because I will put up a death fight here for Colombo. Stuff coming from Colombo into Rangoon. Only use those 1 or 2 point transports coming into Rangoon. I've got troops coming to Rangoon. I've got troops coming to Palembang and Oostaven and Batavia. We've got a lot of stuff coming out of Cape Town. Whoops, if I can find it. Went too far south. You can't see it yet, but we're going to have a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff coming to Cape Town. You can see the line starting to come off of Australia, heading towards Cape Town. A lot of things here out of the Dutch East Indies heading towards Cape Town. Those are the big spots, Cape Town, Colombo, Karachi, Bombay. I always build up Bombay. Sometimes people forget to do that, and if you play the Japanese, come up here and invade Bombay against most people because they forget to fortify it. You got a big, beautiful base in India. Um, I think that's about it for a little tour around the map. Now, that took a little longer than I was expecting. I'm going to continue on though here in a minute. I'm actually going to pause this for a second to grab a drink, but I'm going to go into Pearl Harbor. We've got 114 ships because we couldn't really set this up last time until the Japanese vacated the area. So we're going to go set those up when I come back.